Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for a poetry discussion as part of the Dirty 30, which is me doing 30 videos in 30 days because I passed 3,000 subscribers here on Strip Cover Lit in celebration of that. So, for this poetry discussion, I wanted to get into a little bit of Charles Bukowski. So let's. This being Tabby Cat, as it appears in The Pleasures of the Damned by Charles Bukowski. Tabby Cat. He has on blue jeans and tennis shoes and walks with two young girls about his age. Every now and then he leaps into the air and clicks his heels together. He's like a young colt, but somehow he reminds me more of a tabby cat. His ass is soft, and he has no more on his mind than a gnat. He jumps along behind his girls, clicking his heels together. Then he pulls the hair of one, runs over to the other, and squeezes her neck. He has fucked them both and is pleased with himself. It has all happened so easily for him. And I think, my little tabby cat, what nights and days wait for you. Your soft ass will be your doom, your agony will be endless, and the girls who are yours now will soon belong to other men who didn't get their cookies and cream so easily and so early. The girls are practicing on you. The girls are practicing for other men, for someone out of the jungle, for someone out of the lion's cage. I smile as I watch you walking along, clicking your heels together. My God, boy, I fear for you on that night when you first find out. It's a sunny day now. Jump while you can. And I think that really any discussion of this poem has to begin with what it is that Bukowski is doing with cats, what it is that Bukowski always does with cats. And the only way that I can think to describe this, to explain this in any light, is how it dawned on me. And I swear to God, this is a true story, despite the fact that it's going to seem so ironic. The way I figured out, at least how I believe that Bukowski is using cats, is as such. So the normal Adrian day consists of me waking up, going to a coffee house or a library or someplace where I can sit and be alone and read until they close the joint. And I was working on Bukowski at the time. I believe it was, you get so alone sometimes that it just makes sense, which is in itself ironic for how this story is going to pan out. And normally what happens is they kick you out of the place, and then you realize, wow, I didn't eat today. So on the way home, back to your warm place, you pick up some scrap of food. And so one night, I was trying to figure out what Bukowski's always doing with these damn cats. Why cats? Cats are miserable, terrible creatures. They're bitchy, and they're nagging, and just terrible creatures. And I'm contemplating that as I've got some fast food that I stopped and grabbed real quick, which is terrible for you. And I park, and I've got to park at the opposite end of the parking lot all the time at my apartment complex because my spot's taken. And I'm walking back to my apartment, and 10-something at night, and it's dark, and it's cold, and you're going back to the warm place, right? So you're not really focusing on what you're doing. And I heard something move, so you sort of freeze, right? Well, a stray cat ran out from under one of these cars and looks back at me, and it's got something dangling from its mouth, probably a mouse from this apartment complex. And it stood there for a minute, and it looked at me, and I stood there for a minute, and I looked at it. And when I was sure that it wasn't going to attack me, and it was sure that I wasn't going to kill it or steal its mouse, we both went off on our ways to be alone, to eat the scrap of food that we had wrangled from life. And that's how I figured out what Bukowski's doing with stray cats. So the stray cat is the cat that does not overtly exist in this poem. It is Bukowski. So it is the narrator, the speaker of the poem. And it is the one who is passing judgment this entire time. And everything in this poem is a judgment. Everything throughout Bukowski is a judgment. Because of the state of the observer. And not necessarily a negative judgment, not passing judgment, if you will. But a judgment nonetheless. So, tabby cat, what is this tabby cat? It's domestic. This is a soft cat with its soft ass. It has no idea how to hunt. It has no idea what it's really doing. It lives in the soft place. So that is the subject of the poem, the tabby cat with his girls, with his young women. But we also have another type of cat in this story, which is someone out of the jungle and someone out of the lion's cage. Now, these are, again, two different things, two different types of cats, something out of the jungle. What might be in the jungle? You've got all sorts of cats in the jungle, right? Panthers, lions, Bengals, all sorts of big cats of prey. But they are cats of prey. They are dangerous. Something out of the jungle is wild and dangerous, unpredictable. It might hurt you. But it is this type of masculine, which is so stereotypically painted, right? Big and strong and hulking and able to do harm. And then you've got the lion in the lion's cage, still powerful, still very powerful. But he's not the king of the jungle. He's the king of his lion's cage. He is somewhat domesticated, but still powerful, still fairly unpredictable. But in his cage, is the way that Bukowski sort of paints having a job, a good job, right? So you have two different types of man here, of manly man here. You have the unpredictable one that's out of the jungle, which is dangerous and will hurt you. But these young girls will grow into women who might fall in love with that type of man. You also have the lion in the cage, which is powerful, that power probably being represented by money, translated to money, and has a job. And for Bukowski, oftentimes we see this type of groupthink, this having a job, which could be considered groupthink to Bukowski, as painted itself in a negative light and a lack of freedom and a type of weakness. And for that, I would like to go to a poem later in this collection, which appears on page 222, The American Flag Shirt, which reads as such. Now, more and more, all these people running around wearing the American flag shirt, and it was more or less once assumed, I think, but I'm not sure, that wearing an American flag shirt meant to say you were pissing on it. But now, they keep making them, and everybody keeps buying them and wearing them, and the faces are just like the American flag shirt. This one has this face and that shirt. That one has that shirt and this face. And somebody's spending money and somebody's making money. And as the Patriots become more and more fashionable, it'll be nice when everybody looks around and finds that they are all Patriots now. And therefore, who is there left to persecute except their children? So that is painting this groupthink, even if it is in the... So, Americanism is a type of individuality, right? Is a type of freedom, or is it was started as such and defined to be so. So for the Founding Fathers to have separated church and state, to have separated from queen and country, was very revolutionary. The American Revolution, right? But was seen as a type of independence, Declaration of Independence. And when you're fast-forwarding to everyone having an American flag shirt and considering themselves patriots, has been perversed into a type of groupthink that makes everyone dumber and everyone weaker, despite the fact that it was supposed to be something else. So Bukowski, in his realm, defines this type of groupthink as itself a form of weakness, but still, it is higher on the food chain than being domesticated, strictly domesticated, as is the tabby cat. The next observation that might be worth taking from this poem: he has fucked both of them and is pleased with himself. It has all happened so easily for him. Fucked, the word choice fucked, suggests a level of impermanence in itself, does it not? So, any level of time, having spent any level of time within the realm of intercourse, I don't know how to talk about these things, you realize there's really 3 levels here. There's making love, there's having sex, and there's fucking. Fucking is throwaway, suggesting that he is, to these young women, throwaway. Having sex implies something more of a mutually beneficial relationship. 2 consenting adults saying, hey, I like talking to you, it's nice to spend time with you, we can do this thing too, it's pretty cool and it feels good, but we don't have to really own each other. And making love, love suggests forever, right? You never let go completely of people that you love. So even then, very early in the intimacy of these people, the idea is placed that this person is disposable. A little earlier than that even, we have an image which is foreshadowing. He's like a young colt, but somehow he reminds me more of a tabby cat. That is its own little stanza, where this domesticated individual is compared to a colt and a tabby cat. What happens to a colt? You geld them. What happens to a tabby cat? You neuter them. So we're fast forwarding to, my God, boy, I fear for you on that night when you first find out. So that is sort of this idea of masculinity being taken. And who's taking the masculinity? Well, it's women. So this poem really has, when you're willing to concede that Bukowski is the alley cat, and by the way, this small little image here at the end, it's a sunny day now. When you think of an alley cat, where do you picture them? It's always at night. It's always someplace dark. So he is even then contrasting himself with this individual. It's sunny now, but later you won't have your balls. And the alley cat still does. And the jungle cat still does. And even the lion in the cage still does. So it's sort of it really comes back to this entire idea of the commoditization of gender. So the domestic cat is where these young women are training themselves, but will soon be abandoned. Then you've got the alley cat, who probably falls into that having sex tier, right? Catching something when he can. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. A lot of the poems where Bukowski mentions relations, it's with a woman who's down on her luck. It's with a woman who is not, who is getting something out of the relationship in that she's sleeping with the great poet. But she also likes him. But you can see within the constraints of the poem itself, both of them are kind of sure it's a bad idea. But at the time, it is mutually beneficial. And then the making love, which is where you get the cat out of the jungle or the lion's cage. So for me, this is one of those poems that the first pass through The Pleasures of the Damned it doesn't really stick out. But once you sort of figure out in your own mind what the terms of Bukowski mean and where they play in that realm of his poetry, it really does explain quite a bit. So that is all for this episode, this discussion of Tabby Cat by Bukowski. If you like this sort of thing, be sure to hit that like button. It helps me out. If you have not already subscribed, maybe do so.